right, everybody. Who's excited for Stride? Huh? Who's excited? Great, great. So this talk's going to deep dive into all of the features that you've seen. You got a quick introduction at the keynote, and Cameron here is going to go through it a little bit deeper. So let's welcome Cameron to the stage.
Hey, does this guy do the thing?
Yeah.
Which button? We didn't actually do that. Cool. Sweet. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate the interest in Stride. Also, obviously, in Summit. This couldn't happen without you, and it's pretty great to get to work with all of you. So my name is Cameron Savage. I'm a product manager on the Stride team. I was originally on the HipChat team, so I've been working in the messaging space with Atlassian since being here for 3 years. And really excited to talk about everything here with Stride. So most of you were probably at the keynote this morning where you saw Steve and Aji walking through some highlights and kind of some of the mission statements of why we focused on Stride and why we think it's important for you and your teams. And in this talk, we're going to dive a bit deeper into the details. So it's pretty high level, telling you about the ideas, and then want you guys to see exactly what that looks like for you and your teams and how you might use it on a day-to-day, and hopefully get you excited. And then we'll have some Q&A at the end for any questions. So first off, I have to say I'm personally so excited to be here, and we have a massively excited team back in Austin and in Sydney and San Francisco and all around Atlassian, because this product was built entirely on the Atlassian platform. You probably saw quite a bit of that in the keynotes, and so there's a lot of components, a lot of experiences here that are driven by a kind of a global design team or global engineering team that we were able to leverage and focus most of our time on how to make the best product. We've been using Stride as our dedicated tool for the past several months, and even as a dog fooding tool well before that. And it's been really cool seeing how something that wasn't yet complete start to be usable, all the way into as we started to ship some of the things that help our team work better together, see our team actually move faster and more effectively. So we really can't wait for you guys to get to join us, and that's soon. So the core goal of Stride, the reason why we built Stride was we wanted to redefine the way team communications is being thought about from the ground up in order to help you move forward with your work, be more effective in your work. Group messaging has become so important to the way that we all do our jobs, and so has video. And in fact, show of hands if you use a messaging or a video tool day-to-day in work in order to do your jobs. Exactly, and so many more outside of this room do as well. And even with some fantastic tools out there, there's still quite a few problems in how that works for us, and there's even some new ones that have been introduced. And it boils down to the hardest part of your day is actually finding time to do the work part of your job. You spend so much time thinking about keeping up with your job that sometimes how do you step away and actually do the thing you're expected to do? And if that's the case, then team communication is pretty much broken, right? If I'm unable to do my job because we're communicating maybe too much, then that's a problem. And there's 3 areas that we've seen that has really driven this, is that there's an overwhelming amount of communications and notifications. This is something that you've seen written about in blogs. This is something you've probably felt yourself. How do I keep up? Just stop buzzing me. Whatever it may be. There's a constant stream of activity, and it's all important in some way or another. That's why it's coming to you. So how do you wrangle that? The next is nonverbal communications are absolutely essential to how we work and communicate, and often in text-based communications that's lost. And you see that it's easy to misconstrue an email or a text through sarcasm or humor, and the way you typically get through that is through some gesture or some facial expression you make. And also, it's so important that you've come to this room, to this conference, to meet people and see people on stage, to actually talk about ideas the best way you can, not read about it or see it on a video. And lastly, it's really tough to keep up with or recall what has happened in so many of our communication tools. There's no clear outcomes, and that's a problem. If your team's not on the same page, or if you feel like you've left out of something or any uncertainty, then you're not able to move forward with confidence on what it is that you want to do. And so that's why we built Stride. It's built from the ground up in order to tackle those 3 problems specifically and think about how you and your team work together in order to give you a tool that actually does something to help you and your team get shit done. And maybe the first static example you've gotten to see of this, unless you came by our booth, which many of you have, it's available across every product you might need: desktop, web, Android, iOS, Linux, Microsoft, Mac, so that your team has what you need in the right place at the right time. So let's take a closer look at how Stride works. Oh, I didn't get my timer right. Anyway, we'll just wing it. So looking at the first question, the way we wanted to solve this is powerful messaging. It's the basis for how we all communicate day to day, and we took the time to think about how to build that right. We built HipChat. We know how to build messaging. There's other great competitors that have great things in messaging. So it's a pretty known state, and it's something that we obviously had to nail. So the very first thing you need to do if you want to talk to someone is find the right place, find the right team. And that is something that had to be super lightweight and super accessible for any team. Let's take a look at that. If I might pause, though, this is maybe the first time you've seen this. At a very high level, the way that this works is on the left side is your global experience, and this is where you might eventually link up to home, as you saw in the keynote. This is where you search for conversations. This is where you search for history, or where you add a new person to your team or create a new room. Next layer over is you, your presence, and the conversations that you're a part of. They're private, they're public, you have control over that, as well as the individuals that you're talking to. Then you have a chat view. This should probably be familiar to many of you, where you have a variety of messages and information being shared between your team. And then at right is the room-specific sidebar, where you have integrations, you have the roster of people present, you have video calling and meetings, and actions and decisions all stored here that are specific to this context, so you know how to find the information you need for the rooms and conversations and projects that you manage. Oops, yeah, we're good. So if you wanted to find someone, I'll go back one step. So the Dapper Designers team has just finished a design cycle, and I'm one of those designers. I didn't actually get the mock-up. I don't want to bug the entire team, so I can talk to Akash, our project manager. And if I wanted to, I can click this magnifying glass, or if you're a keyboard hero, keyboard command, out it comes, where I can either type in his name, or we'll have some suggestions based upon who you talk to the most, or who is most relevant for you. And I can type in Akash's name, filters down, and click in, and I'm here. I can ask him for the specs, and he shares them right back, just like that. Pretty lightweight, direct flow, something that we wanted to get right. But of course, he was already in that conversation that I referenced, so you could always click on him, go straight to him, find out information about him. But getting there is half the battle. What do you say? How do you say it? And too often, messages are too simple, and it's difficult for me to communicate effectively with you. And so one of the things that was talked about in the keynote this morning is the Atlassian platform and the uniform editing experience, or the universal editing experience. So with Stride, we wanted you to be able to use everything you need to communicate, whether that's text formatting, inline quoting, code blocks, files, links, all in a single message. That way you don't have to send a file and then the thing you wanted to say about it and send 6 or 7 notifications to your team. And meanwhile, the other conversation that might be going on splits and interjects between the thing you sent, and now your ideas are disparate and it's difficult to follow. It's just noise. So you should be able to construct a thoughtful, cohesive thought here with anything you might need, and send it as a single message into the room. And of course, if you goofed, we don't want you to look dumb or share bad information to your team. That would just be counterproductive, so you can always edit or delete. So there's a lot of messages flying around. Where do you direct your attention? That's probably the most important thing, especially in a messaging client. What's more important? Where do I go? What first? I've just come back from a meeting, and there's 17 messages. What do I do? It's a common problem, and you need to know how to do this. So if we take a look here in the sidebar, there's some activity indicators for my conversation. Those are comprised of a set of dots and numbers. We really wanted to focus on what is FYI versus what is right now, I need you. And we've done that with this. Dots are activity that's occurred since you've been there, but it's not necessarily something that's deemed important based upon mentions, notifications. Whereas these counts would be somewhere where I or my team have been asked to pay attention. So if someone says my name directly, or they ask for anyone who's currently here online, or everybody that's participating in that project, those count as an increment of a dot, which also would count as a notification on your phone, so that it's a one-to-one-to-one relationship of if something important happened, that's how I think about it. So Taking a look here back to Akash, I have 2 messages from him. I know that I was recently chatting with him, working on a project with him, so I'm going to go there first since he sent me 2 things, and he sent me some updated specs again after I last asked, so that he makes sure that I'm not working on the wrong things. But not all conversations are equally important, right? My relationship with different projects, different teams, different rooms may be different based upon what they are, and different from yours. So we really wanted to grant you full control over how that count and notification system functions by putting it in as a top-level option for every single conversation you have. So if you take a look here, every conversation has a per conversation kind of notification setting that I can set for myself, and it persists across sessions and across my devices because the default is great. It's telling me about, let me jump to this actually. The default is great. It's either you or your team, and this is a default that we actually brought over from HipChat because it worked really well for the majority of people. But you may actually have a critical monitoring room, or you work as a really small team and you want to hear about every single message. Have it be more SMS-like, where you don't miss out on any activity no matter what. You'd be crazy if it's a really active room, my opinion. But this is a powerful thing that many people do ask for, especially in startups or some service room. But also there's the kind of more need-to-know rooms where I just like keeping up with it, so you can always turn it down so you opt out of group mentions. Only if someone says me by name will I be notified, which is great because you'd be a rude jerk if you ignore someone saying your name. But this is great for social rooms, who's going to lunch rooms, or I'm a manager just kind of peering in and want to keep up and have a shortcut to that room without getting blasted all the time. But even timely and helpful notifications don't always come even the best setup of notifications don't always come when you're actually doing that thing. So we wanted to give you best-in-class response mechanisms based upon what the OSs provide. So you can provide out of context, whether you're watching YouTube cat videos, you're actually doing something productive for work, but not looking at Stride. You can respond in line, have the context you need to unblock your team without actually having to switch what you're doing. To switch gears a bit, all of that was what happens in real time, notifications, finding the people, reading the conversations. But sometimes the most important thing you need is something that happened in the past. And so we wanted to give you a powerful search experience across all of Stride. If you wanted to find, say, a file that you know roughly who sent it, when it was, but not necessarily what room, you need those tools. So we're providing the ability for you to search when it happened, who sent it, does it contain a file or code or even a text block or action decision, and where is it? We default to the things you already have open. It's a sensible default that we think helps you avoid some problems, but you can always customize that. You can find if you refine it to attachments, you can find what you're looking for and quickly share it to your team, no problem. Also, if your days are anything like mine, it's jumping between meetings, coffee, I'm running an errand, I'm available at my desk, whatever it might be, setting context to my team so that they're not waiting around if I'm not going to get back to them. Maybe there is someone else who can actually answer that question, but they asked me directly because I'm the closest friend they have on that can answer that question. They shouldn't have to wait around if I'm not going to get back to them. So we wanted to bring presence to the very top level. Presence is not something new as a concept, but how we baked it into our world, we really wanted it to be thoughtful and usable. So at the very top, one click, you can set yourself to give context to your team members, let them know whether you're online, offline, and what you're doing. But there's also another use case that we have here that we're really excited about is taking the concept of presence and turning it into something that is actually team-oriented and focused on a focus mode of how do you turn down distractions when you need to do work. You've got a deadline upcoming, and what do you do when you need to do that? You kind of close the app entirely, you set it to some red thing that's really kind of rude and doesn't tell your team what you're doing. So we wanted to give that legs. We wanted to create a workflow that fits within the way that we as humans like to coordinate and collaborate as teams, and that's called focus mode. So with Akash, again, he and I have a deadline. It's due at the end of this day, and we haven't yet finished. And you can see here that he has this big purple block where he's already in focus mode. It lets me know that I won't be disturbing him if I send him any messages, and also what he is working on and for how long. This way I know what to expect. I'm not frustrated he's not responding to me because I see he's being productive on something I do care about for my team. And I can ping him without fear of bothering him, and also at the same time, I need to go get some shit done myself. So I can drop down our focus mode modal, which says, hey, tell your team what you're doing and for how long you're doing it. I can drop a Jira ticket because I'm really diligent and I track all my stuff in Jira, and also for how long it will be. So click focus, off I'm gone. We make sure to remind you that you are muting your notifications so you don't forget. It's very easy to do by turning your presence block into the same focus purple. So I'm off. I did some work. It was really nice. I actually came back before I thought I was. Breath of fresh air. I finished my work early because I thought it was going to take 2 hours, but I wasn't getting distracted. It took me only half an hour. And a lot of things happened while I was gone. I'm kind of apprehensive about that. So when I come back out, we let you know what happened while you were away. This is something that we know we as a team need to keep up with. But it can be so daunting to do so, and we don't want people to feel like they can't step away. This is more of how do we as team members and individuals feel like we have permission to step away and do my work, and set a tone to my other team members that they also have permission to do that same thing. So let's take a look at the second problem. It effectively boils down to how can we be human at work? Frequently, text alone is either not enough or it's entirely too slow, and we need all the communication avenues at hand in order to solve tough problems. So we wanted to help teams connect across any platform with no extra tools. So voice and video and emoji really help us with that. So emoji, I just mentioned it. You know it's important. It felt ridiculous at first, but it's become so important in personal and professional communication just because that's how we can be more clear via text. HipChat first introduced this and it's been wildly successful. We have fanatical customers who are always asking for more and more and more. We at Atlassian have probably 1,000 custom emoji, and I find myself trying to use them when I'm texting with my family, and I get frustrated that I can't use the vocabulary I've started to learn how to communicate with. So we brought emoji in as a full first-class, great picking experience. This should be a very familiar pattern, which is great. It's what we've come to use. I think it's a great pattern. It makes it very easy to find what you need. But the custom emoji set, the custom emoji set is critical for so many of our customers, and we wanted to bring that into the app. So now if you can't find what you're looking for, you know an idea or some joke you want to have, or even some emoji code that you would like to use to help make it more clear that what's the status of some project or some code shorthand for a project. You can create that right here in the app. I'm going the wrong direction. And if you see down below, you can now enter what your emoji name would be. We didn't have the Stride emoji, it's brand new, and choose which file you'd like to upload, and it's immediately available for you and your team to use, wield, crack jokes, be professional, whatever it might be. But no emoji is as powerful as a human face. It's effective for lightweight text communication, but we wanted to make talking with your team members or even hearing their voice way easier. So with group calling and one-on-one, ad hoc or scheduled meetings, whatever it might be, we wanted you to be able to do that in one tool without having to context switch and have it be a natural workflow for you and your team. And there's about 3 ways that we've seen this develop as we've used it and as we've researched with our customers. You can elevate a tough chat from a conversation up into a video meeting. You're already talking with this team. How do you transition into, come on, let's just talk it out. This has been really difficult. It'd be way easier if we just used our words. Or you might want to pull together any set of people outside of your team. Maybe you're interviewing an external candidate, or you work with some contractors who aren't part of your Stride instance. We wanted to make it super easy for you to work with them as well. Or we all have our recurring meetings or something that we know is coming and we can schedule for that. So we wanted to provide that fully within Stride as well. So let's take a look first at conversations. The Dapper designers are at it again and trying to figure out how to solve this problem. They realize that it's just way too hard to talk about these designs without actually showing or talking. So Eric decides he'll be the one to start the meeting, and you get a card that shows up to let everyone know that it's time for a call. And if you notice up here in the top right, the video indicator has turned green to let people know that there is an ongoing call that is currently active, and it's easy for you to jump in and tie into this. So I could click on this card to join it, but I realize that I'm kind of in a noisy atmosphere. Maybe I'm calling in from here at Summit. If I click on this, I can actually choose the method with which I would like to join. And I want to turn off my microphone. So I go ahead and opt out of hitting the microphone so I don't blast everyone with all the chatter that's going on. And click Join Meeting, and I'm here. It's as simple as that, but obviously we have to support everything. You might be on the go, whatever you might need, support it on mobile so that you and your team can work exactly how you need. So next, this one has really been exciting and has really resonated with a lot of people, especially coming by the booth, which is how do you connect with anyone? And we let you do that with Stride, phone, or URL. So taking a look at this, if I wanted to grab a set of people, I can come to our global create and click Start a Meeting. And this will take me straight into our video UI, but here it defaults me to who do you want to chat with. I can either add someone from my team, so Akash, we've been working together a lot apparently, or maybe someone who's working outside that doesn't have Stride. I can go ahead and dial out to them on their phone, or even provide a number to them for them to call in. And they're in. But even so, maybe there's someone who doesn't have phone, doesn't want to use it, or actually wants to be on video or screen share, and you can share a URL to them. So this pretty much means anyone in the world can join you and your team to get things done, and they don't already have to be a part of your ecosystem, whatever it might be, for whatever reason. Lastly, calendar, scheduled. We have a calendar integration, so make it easier for you to go ahead and attach a Stride dial-in number or URL so that you can skip a couple steps and get people into the right place quickly and easily. So that's all about getting into a call. But we really wanted to think about some of the awkward pain points of being on a call. Sometimes there's a bit of video lag and you're stuck cutting someone off. It's like, no, you go, I'll go. It's the worst. And we wanted to add some simple solutions to help you and your team. So I'm on this call. This is my team. I really respect them, and I have something that I wanted to say, and the only way that I can do that is interrupt my colleague, which in person, that's really rude and frowned upon, and if you wanted to interject, you would use some physical gesture, perhaps, that is silent, such as maybe raising your hand. And we wanted to bring that into our video experience so that you could politely collaborate with your team. So if Akash would like to speak, he can click on this, and it would let everyone else know that I have something to say. I don't have to derail the conversation. But secondly, let me back up real quick. But secondly, another thing that we wanted to do is when we're talking at our desk, we're talking in a room, if I turn to take some notes, I turn to do something else while we're chatting, I don't leave the conversation. I'm like, hey, yeah, thank you, like taking notes down. And that's something that you find yourself doing in video experiences as well, where maybe I want to switch over back into Stride and take some notes there. And if you background this, we wanted to keep the call ongoing for you here, so it's as if you were still participating actively in the conversation. You can still see maybe what someone is screen sharing while you take the time to add a couple of to-dos. But also, sometimes the best way to go about this, any conversation on video, is to just show people what you're talking about. Show off your latest genius. Screen sharing, it's free for one-to-one calling. And it's just as simple as clicking a button, so you could share something super productive or derail the conversation with an adorable dog. And that is absolutely my dog, shameless plug. But it's important, guys, come on. But sometimes it's actually easier to just do that thing. Maybe you're frustrated, oops, getting a little clicky. Maybe you're frustrated trying to describe something to someone online. Maybe you're trying to provide some IT support so that that person can't figure out how to do the VPN again, and you just want to go click through it for them. You can surrender control to your desktop and grant access to the point where, in this case, come over and take over the Trello board because I'm the project manager and I just want to do it real fast. It's no problem. It's great. So our last point is, how do you turn conversations into action? We wanted to bring lightweight collaboration tools to the table so that you and your team can move discussions forward more productively, a little bit more effectively. And one of those ways is something we already do today, which is sharing files and links. These are the artifacts of your work. It's something you use to distribute, to say, hey, please look at this. I need to share this elsewhere later. I need your feedback. This will be really useful for you. But actually managing that can be a giant pain. in every single conversation where anything has been shared, these will be logged in the sidebar by when they were shared, who shared them, and you can click on these to expand to see a full preview. You can send them back into the room to discuss. And obviously, adding new files to the conversation are as easy as drag and drop, copy and paste, or even uploading directly with the upload button. But again, you can do this all in line. I could add a couple of notes to say, hey, here's what I want you guys to say to these things in a single message. Send those in with a full preview. You don't necessarily have to have all the right programs on your computer in order to view some of these files. Our media services team across all of Atlassian are taking the effort in order to provide you with the way to preview these things quickly and easily. But one way that would be great in order to collaborate around files is just put my feedback on it. I don't want to have to download it, mark it up, and re-upload it and send it back to you. So in this case, we're providing file markup. Think of it as Snapchat style drawing all over it. Akash has already sent me a few annotations so that I could take a look to draw my attention to a few things he wanted me to say. I wasn't available to him. He didn't want to type it all out. It's much easier to show. But it would be pretty awesome for me. I've noticed a few things. I can add back to that and send it right back to him. We think this is powerful. This is going to be a great experience. I've already used it several times. I work with my design team quite regularly as a product manager. It's a lot of words saved and trying to be super tactful and really explicit and detailed in how I write it up. Normally, I would just go to their desk. Sometimes not available to even get on a call. I have time now. It'd be great for me to do this now and do it effectively. So next is something that we are really excited about. It is so simple and no-brainer that I can't believe we haven't done it before this. And it's really resonated with a lot of our customers so far. And I know that many of you have come by the booth really interested to talk about this. And how do you track a decision? When did a team make a decision? I don't know, I wasn't there. Did we actually agree that was a decision? What things had to be done based upon that decision? Did we agree who's supposed to do it? These are all questions that are killer to a project moving forward and really just annoying, really, for everyone involved. And tracking action is one of the primary reasons that Jira and the entire Atlassian family is as powerful as it is today and why most of us even care to be here. And we wanted to bring that experience and philosophy into Stride. How do you manage your world? So let's go back to the video use case. I'm currently on a call with my team, and we're here because we wanted to solve a tough problem, which means that we're making some decisions or identifying what problems we need to solve. So I jump back into our design team's conversation. I still have my call going on here that I can see, and we have decided, right here in the editor, I can decide to add an action or a decision directly into the input and into posterity in the room. So in this case, we've decided that the jetpack casing will be cylindrical. It's great. It's groundbreaking innovation, super aerodynamic. But that also means that there's some things that we have to do coming out of that. So I need to add a couple tasks. What needs to get done? Well, Nadia needs to finalize the design and share it out to the team so we can actually get moving. And one more is that Akash needs to wrap up on the presentation demo, which is great. Now we know what we need to do. We can move forward. It's perfect. And they're all logged in the sidebar, but Moody Blue Eyes is in the way. I can drag him out of the way. And you can see all the things that we just decided in posterity. Any conversation that happens and pushes these away, there's always going to be ongoing chat. Maybe it's about lunch. Maybe it's about work. But these are always here for you and your team. So how do you distill the most important things? How do I catch back up if I was away for a day? They're all right here, and if I were to check one off, it'll let the team know that they've been checked off. One final bit on this is there are so many other tools outside of Stride that are so valuable. Tasks and actions and decisions is one, and it's great. It's super lightweight, it's very nimble, but we have the entire Atlassian family. There are so many other wonderful, powerful vendors that were out on that floor today, and many people like to build their own custom integrations specifically for their own use cases or for them individually because they're egotistical and they want to help themselves out. And we wanted to make these deeply integrated, easily installed, and highly discoverable, which is otherwise no one uses them or they're not very useful. So as I mentioned, obviously we have the Atlassian family, and this is just the nice, pretty graphic. I had Trello's obviously on here, and plus a few others. And as an example of what this might look like, let's take a look at Jira. Big boy. If I set up Jira to be part of my room, for this conversation, I'm on a particular team, I can say, hey, I want to hear about bugs for my project if they mention me. Whatever you want, you can set that up. And in this case, we've said, hey, let me know when the mockups are done, or let me know when anything in our project is marked as done. So in this experience, the team now knows that the Jetpack mockups are complete. I can click through and go see any details that are on that ticket. It's live, it's full UI, you can take action on it, it's readable. It's actually quite nice. But also in the sidebar over here, this is where all the integrations for this room that have been configured specifically for this team or project live. And you can see that this room has been pretty diligent about putting a lot of the Atlassian tools in here. But this is what an example of Jira might look like. I can see a history of all the things that have happened that we deemed important enough to notify into this room. So you can have a lightweight, quick way to kind of go back and grab the thing that maybe happened a couple hours ago, and you can have some light filtering down to try to find the right thing. Of course, if you need to do some deep JQL querying, you can always just click into Jira and do all of that, but we realize that there's some core interactions, some core value that we can bring directly into our experience, so you don't have to make as many context switches. And all of this is backed by the power of Atlassian's full marketplace, and it's available directly in Stride. So obviously not everything is built for Stride, but the experience that you know and are familiar with is built into the marketplace. And if you find anything, it happens directly in Stride. You don't have to leave the app. It's easy to configure. It's easy to find what you're looking for. This is something that anyone is familiar with, no matter what level of technical capability, and we wanted to make sure that that is the case. So if I decide that I want to set one up, it's super simple. You don't have to be a developer, and you don't have to ask the admin. It's just clicking a few buttons. So if I had asked to configure Jira, I need to know my domain URL to tell me which one, but after that, it's a series of drop-downs and checkboxes. It's super easy to click through. It's very self-explanatory, and also you can always come back and edit it if it's too loud. As soon as we got this available in our Stride version to start dogfooding and giving feedback, our team got really overeager, and it was like 20 Jira issues to like 3 pages, and they were like, whoa, whoa, so, let's back this up, and they jumped in, a couple clicks, and it was done. It was great. It was really nice to be able to do that so easily. So in this case, I said I want everything. I'm crazy. And you're done. It's that simple. Oh, gross. Messed up my formatting. Obviously, an API here is powerful. It's not just our tools. It's anyone else that wants to build them. And it's tailored for custom-built or third-party apps to give you some powerful interactions. This is the ability for me to talk directly to a bot or an app. If I just want to have a tailored or very specific interaction with this thing that I can, it's just like finding another person. Additionally, something that was missing in HipChat that people really, really wanted is the ability to have a one-on-one with my boss or with a particular person I work really closely with. I can add any app or integration there as well. And bringing them into a conversation is no problem. It's just like mentioning a user. It's just like adding a user. And so you have everything from just me and a partner, my whole room, and you could also configure them across the entirety of the default Stride if you're the admin. We really wanted to make this easy to build. We learned from feedback through HipChat, through the rest of Atlassian, and also the best practices around the industry. So if you've ever used a REST API from any cloud vendor out there, then you'll easily find ours usable, and it should also make it easy to port anything that already exists into our system. So that's Stride, and it's a lightning quick jump through. It's available across everything you need. It's beautiful and it's awesome. And we really cannot wait for you to join and help us redefine team communications. Pricing, obviously you care. It's free for unlimited users. The details there is that you have 25,000 messages of history before you start to lose that, and a few of our advanced video features. But for free, you can have group and video meetings and screen sharing and everything that you need to get work done. But if you do want to pay, then it's far less expensive than pretty much anything out there for the entire suite of what you're getting. It's $3 a user per month. You have pretty much everything you need to have video, audio, chat, file sharing. You can request early access today. It's a wait list. We're going to be bringing people in as soon as we possibly can. We've already got a few starting to come in. And visit us at our